How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about a few of my thoughts on how to strategically prepare for a world with Relic Delta, where the differences in relics are much different than what we've been used to. It's not just set stat boosts for tanks at Relic 9, and there's a few kind of archetypes I'd say that I've come up with. And I'm not saying I have an exhaustive list of different types of characters yet, but I'm hoping to think through what are the lowest priority characters to take to higher relics, to just inoculate yourself against any adverse effects, and what are the highest priority to take advantage of to make Relic Delta work in your favor. Now, previously it was all kind of like, good tanks, all around great characters like GL's requirements for Relic 9, and that's it. But it's really expanding. So we're going to talk about those different roles. And I'm not only talking about Relic 9. Like, this is just for higher relics in general. Like, say you have a full team of Relic 3 or Relic 5, and you want to go to Relic 7. Which ones do you want to prioritize first for that? Because it's different shades of gray. It's not just a yes or no. It's a continuous gradient, if you will. So let's get into it, starting with the lowest priority archetypes I could think of. So the first archetype I want to talk about, I'm calling supporters. In this, I would think of as, we have support as a class in the game, but not all supports are truly support types. There's some support characters that are called support, but they're mainly damage dealers. Some that even act like tanks. So I'm just going with supporters just for a little bit of differentiation. And these are characters that you're not really relying on to deal a lot of damage or take a lot of damage. They're not your main damage receiver and they're not your main damage giver, but they have their strength through their mechanics. And maybe you only want a couple relics on them and you're fine with leaving them at a little bit of a lower level because they might need to take a hit from an AoE once in a while, or, the odd Jedi Knight Revan type character that can really focus on someone around a taunt or something like that. But you don't need to max them out. You don't need to worry about their damage because it already wasn't an impact. And you don't need to worry about them being the punching bag for your team. And this is not in a rank order, and I haven't listed every single character that would fit into this category exhaustively, or any of the categories, but just the ones that were top of mind and kind of as I went through my roster, which stood out to me. So that's like your Admiral Piet. He does have an AoE for some damage, and his basic is fine, but he's mainly calling people to assist and buffing through his buffs. Jar Jar does have an AoE as well, but he's mainly making things happen through all his mechanics, the frustration, everything. Revan, he's classified as an attacker, but he really acts like a support. He just does so many different effects that he's laying out there, and I'm never really using Revan thinking, oh, come on, Revan, we need his turn, we need some damage. So a lot of these characters fit that mold. Hermit Yoda, C-3PO, hugely stand out there. IG-12 and Grogu can't even deal damage directly. Wat Tambor, all these characters are great. Mon Mothma's like that. Seer Junda, she does some damage, but she is not directly, I don't know. It's based on health, so I don't know how that's truly affected. Hera, she does a little bit of damage here and there, but mainly her mechanics, they're going to be fine. Relic Delta is not affecting tenacity, potency, or anything like that. So all these characters, you need a little bit of survivability, but hopefully you can mod a little bit more of that into them with health and protection, and you don't need to bulk up with them because they're going to be good either way. So this is a great type of character to have. So they're low priority, but they're great just the same. So that is supporters, lowest priority for higher relics. The second archetype I want to talk about is Unconventional Damage, and you could say this is arguably even, like on an even level with supporters in some ways. But these are characters that are going to have types of damage that I think will circumvent largely Relic Delta impacts. It's not through its final playtest, and I'm not part of the playtest, but from what I've heard, it's not impacting things like Expose, so that's Zori. Plague, that's Marin. Damage over time, Tusken Chieftain deals out a lot of those. Rex, I could see his kind of Rex Late, as we call it, being reduced in damage, but it just scales so fast that it's so high anyway. It's just massive overkill in most circumstances, so I put him here. And then we got Nihilus, Cat, Jedi Cal, and Jabba. What do they all have in common? Insta kills. So these are really valuable characters to have, and they're just very nice because you don't have to worry about bumping them up super high for the sake of damage. They're not your tanks, so they can kind of stay lower. But some of them do a lot of damage, and some of these have, they're going to have more of a need to take some punches. Jabba's actually, he's sitting pretty. Like, I don't think he needs super high Jabba. Like, he can't get targeted unless Kersan goes down. His damage is all other people assisting. His insta-kill and his bomb. So it's just fantastic. I can actually put Boosh on this as well because she is mainly just dealing out bombs. And while she does do some damage, the bombs are kind of the main thing. You need them to take some hits, obviously, but Rex, there's the sacrifice looming on pretty much any team. Rex has, so if he would die and then Fives wouldn't, Fives is going to sacrifice and juice everyone up, so you might want him a little squishy. You might want him a little bit lower level because you might be able to exploit that. Nihilus stacks up his health crazy high. Anytime Traya or Scion get a debuff, he gets 30% max health, so his survivability eventually goes through the roof anyway. You don't care about his damage, and he's going to do his insta-kill. Marin, plagues galore. This is just a great category of characters that I'm not really going to worry about, so they're a very low priority to bump up relics for. Next archetype is single target damage dealers. So these are characters that may or may not have the capacity, or typically they're ones that have the capacity to deal high damage. So you are going to want to start to think about prioritizing them, but it's usually only on one target, so it's not going to be as impactful as, say, other characters. However, there's some great characters in this list. JMK, he's kind of like a support type character too, but he does get some good damage. So Relic 9 punching down, you will see an impact, and you might be surprised at what he's doing. Maul, great damage dealer. He has an AoE, but that's not his main feature. It's all about that targeted true damage and the assists on one target. Jedi Knight Luke, he's got an AoE stun. That's a support role type value, so that is high value for him. That is not affected by Relic Delta. You're going to lock down the whole other team with stun, and there's nothing they can do about it. Even if they're Relic 9, they're going to get stunned, so that's great. And he does some good damage, but again, it's single target. Bo, awesome, but single target. Drogon. So you see it's pretty straightforward there. Dark Trooper, he has an AoE, but it's like, who really cares? Actually, with the support Cron, he can actually hit pretty hard with his AoE. So, but anyway, Darth Traya, I do think of her kind of as a damage dealer. She can really hit pretty hard, but it is single target. You kind of want her a little bit survivable too. So I just lumped her in this category. And I only have 10 here. There's plenty of others, but these are ones that really stood out to me as more or less pure single target damage that are starting to get to a middle ground priority, but not quite. Next up, and we got 3 more archetypes to talk about. This is damage takers. So mostly tanks, but some are not necessarily tanks. Well, actually, everyone shown here is a tank except for Savage. So I didn't want to just say tanks. So damage takers it is. These are the ones where if they're going to be the main character taking the hits for you, and if they are weak under relics, they're going to just be melting, and you really are not going to like that. So this is where the old priorities for Relic 9 are still kind of nice. So if you built up a bunch of Relic 9s based on kind of the old way of thinking, a bunch of tanks, you shouldn't really regret that too much because you need them to take damage. Ahsoka is the GL I put here because she is, out of all the Galactic Legends, she is more of a true tank. JML has kind of support characteristics which strengthen him, but Ahsoka is just, she's like the timeout queen. It's insane. Balin, he has some damage potential. He's got support capabilities, but he is also primarily a damage taker, and the more hits he can take for his team, the better you're going to do. Nurture Moff Gideon, Malgus Kersan, a lot of archetypal tanks that I even put in my last high priority for Relic 9 video. Then Savage. Savage is kind of close to an all-around character because he is dealing a lot of damage, but he also needs to take it, and I think that is his primary function on that Traya team, because if he goes down early, it's not going to be pretty. And a lot of these have some ancillary benefits to them, like Bosk has his ship, General Kenobi has his ship. Wrecker Mercenary I also put in there as a tank. He's not on like the best team in the world, but he really does fit that archetype. So there's plenty of others not shown here, but these are the ones you need to take a punch. They're not necessarily doing lots of damage. Some of them are. I mean, Balin and Director Moff Gideon kind of get some damage out there, but you don't want them melting or folding under the pressure of a few high relics on attackers from the other side. And now the second to last category, the penultimate category, if you will, is all-arounders. These are characters that kind of do a little bit of everything, and they do it pretty well. This is most Galactic Legends fit into this category. They got some AoE damage. They're not just single damage. They take some hit. They need to take hits. They're gonna have to take a few punches, and they have support characteristics. So they are affecting the battle and with mechanics that aren't going to be limited by Relic Delta. So they just have really high value to get to Relic 9 to survive, deal damage, take the punches. So Leia, she's got an AoE and she's got some decent single damage, but she's not technically a pure damage dealer. So she's not in a category below or above, but she does have large damage potential if she's punching down against lower relics. Same with Rey. She's not necessarily known as the AoE damage. Her ultimate does take some time to get up and running, and it was like if you're facing a turn meter driven team, she was going to annihilate almost everyone anyway, in a lot of regards. But she also, her whirlwind, if that's just 200 plus 200% damage, if she's whirlwinding like a Relic 5, they're just going to get completely melted. It's going to be crazy. Lord Vader, he does have some good AoE damage to him, but he takes a long time to ramp, so it's mainly about his survivability there, and then some single target damage, and he has a lot of support characteristics. And sometimes if you use Piet with him, which not as many people do anymore, he can kind of tank for you. JML, he's the tank. He does have an AoE, although that's not his main damage feature. He's an interesting case because I've heard so far through the testing, kind of wish I was part of it, I could actually confirm these things for myself. His granted ability, the damage dealt is going to also depend on the target you choose. So it will be based on his max protection, which is higher at Relic 9, but the damage dealt will be modified based on the target character that you are choosing to assist. So you'll have to have another Relic 9 to do the maximum damage if you're targeting a Relic 9, and so on and so forth. So the Donal Emperor, he really needs to take a few punches before he gets to his insta-kills. So he's a non-traditional damage dealer, but he does need to do with his insta-kills, but he needs to survive, and he sometimes needs to just pack the punch on his own if he's facing like a GL or something. Ezra Bridger, lots of damage, takes hits, tons of support characteristics, really high priority. But he's not a huge, massive. He doesn't have an AoE damage move, so he's not a higher priority, which I'm going to talk about. I think everyone kind of knows that's where I've been heading based on how I've been talking. Reva, she's the tank, but she also does really good damage. She does have an AoE. I wouldn't say it's a complete bomb, but she's dealing some damage. Mace Windu taking hits and dealing damage. Lots of support functions. Queen Amidala, her herself is closer to a support character, but when you add in the decoy, the tank, high value from all the extra relics. And even though she's not dealing a lot of damage on her own, just really valuable character, and a lot of people had her R9 already. And then Luthen, kind of similar thing. He's got a summon, so him on his own is more like a support and a little bit of an attacker, but he also has a tank in there too, so really high value for him. So these are just, the 10 that really stood out to me the most as fitting this category. Could be some others. Maybe Balin fits in better to this category. Maybe Dark True Moff Gideon does. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think for that. And the last, I think, highest priority category is what I'm calling Nukers. And I'm borrowing that term from Raid Shadow Legends, because Raid Shadow Legends has a lot of defined roles. And what a Nuker is a character that you can rely on for large AoE damage to potentially take out an entire team on the other side or clear an entire wave of enemies. And that's what I think needs to be the focus once Relic Delta comes into play, because right now they're showing a big emphasis on increased damage from the higher Relic characters, and they're dialing it back a bit on the damage nerf from lower Relic characters. So lower Relic characters will have a hard time dealing damage against enemy high tanks, but the damage increase when there's a 5 Relic difference as it stands right now, it's going to change probably by the time it comes out, but it seems like they're leaning towards emphasizing damage dealt when you punch down. You want to have high relics on AoE damage dealers that have large AoE damage multipliers. Spearman there, Kylo Ren. I always think of Malicos with this. Malicos' AoE is insane. Why the AoE matters so much. So you're hitting not only one target character that may or may not have a similar relic level, you're hitting the entire team. If they didn't inoculate their entire team, have all R8 or all R7, you're going to get a huge damage boost. You take out a few support characters or a few damage dealers that were lower relics, you're off to the races right away, very quickly. It's an insane advantage. And no one fits that mold better than Bane himself. He takes a bonus turn at the beginning. He has 2 different AoEs that have massive damage potential. Just insane. Gas, that AoE is not a light hit. And I know everyone thinks I just overemphasize gas, but like that is actually a really powerful AoE, especially if you use them just on a Jedi team, not as a 501st leader. But you put him on a Jedi team, he can hit hard, knock people out. I've been using him all over the place, not just with 501st, and he really stands out. Padawan Obi-Wan ignores protection, and then you hit under that protection, hit big damage, crazy. I have a lot here, and some of these down lower are like not as urgent nukers, but they kind of fit the mold. Starkiller, AoE on the basic, in his big buff dispel. That big buff dispel, you better believe that's gonna hit hard. Ben Solo, like Padawan Obi-Wan, ignoring protection, big hit. As long as you need an Omicron for that, and that's only GAC, so I'll emphasize that there. But that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about PvP, and most people are concerned about the one-on-one matchup. TW, not quite as much. In TW and TV, he's still going to do an AoE. But if he hits under the protection, if you got him at Relic 9 or something, I mean, goodbye to some people on the other side. Night Troopers, kind of the big AoE damage dealer for his team. Wampa, I'm actually really intrigued at the prospect of Wampa. Say you got a Relic 10 Wampa. I mean, he hasn't been as relevant lately, and yes, he's got his Datacron will really emphasize that, but like even without the Datacron, as long as you're not taking on a team that's going to have a quick insta-kill, or lock him down, fracture him or something, he gets off an AoE, even if they have Relic 7, like if he's Relic 10, I mean, some people, Wampa fans, might just go for this. He's going to take some people out, and then he might get down to a 1-on-3 or a 1-on-2 or something. And then I'm intrigued. I'm interested to see how he handles things. And Grievous, he's fallen off a bit. TW, he's a little bit better with the Droidica Omicron out there. Or Stap in Grand Arena. But he does repeated AoEs. So he's going to hit pretty hard. It could really do a lot more damage out there. Apo's big AoE damage dealer. 8th brother for the Inquisitors. I mean, you could put Grand Inquisitor there too. He might be more of an all-arounder. Merrick and Shin both have some big AoEs for that team. So it'd be interesting to see how they just wreck a team in BT1. These are low priority nukers. So let me just emphasize that lower, because not everybody listens when I do these videos, and then I get questions. So I'm going to just put this for all the people that are on silent sometimes. Low priority nukers. But this is the category I'm thinking of. Large AoE damage. And I fortunately have a lot of these already at Relic 9, but I can't wait to see what they can do. And then I can wait to see what they will do against me on my small account as I just get dominated by these large AoE damage dealers. So Nukers, that's the concept I am the most confident in that will have the biggest impact. Because, I mean, you can just take one turn, knock out some people, or really cripple the team. So it'll be interesting to see. So that's it. Let me know what you think about these different archetypes. It's early. We don't even have the final results for what Relic Delta will be. And this is not every type of category that could ever be thought of. And I obviously didn't list every single character in it. So Just interested to hear your thoughts. What kind of categories do you think makes sense to put in there? What do you think of the ordering I had? What are some really standout characters that I might have missed? Interested to hear your thoughts. And let me know what you think about the Nuker theory for Relic Delta. That's gonna be good because Relic 10. I'm gonna have to decide who's my first Relic 10. It'll be interesting. All right, love to hear those thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.